Today we have a double feature. This is Trainsaw Laser and Wub Wub Wub, two King of the Hill maps made by Yui aka Crash. Crash has contributed a lot to the TF2 community, and has made and worked on many maps, some of which have been added to the game. He has also made a very popular video tutorial series on how to make maps for TF2. I asked Crash some questions about these maps and what got him into mapping. He started when the main TF2 server he played on began using custom maps. One of the other regulars on the server, named HeyU, the maker of Moonshine and Stony Ridge, was making their own maps and he found it fun to playtest them. Eventually he started working with HeyU on a few projects, and his interest in mapping evolved from there. I've kinda put off covering these maps because Crash has covered his own creations so well. I've left links in the description to his videos he's made about his own maps. If you're interested in TF2 mapping and how a map develops, it's worth a watch. Crash has stopped making TF2 maps to focus on other creative works. His current project is making music with his doomed sludge stoner metal band Bog Wizard. So anyway, let's talk about the maps. Trainsaw Laser is a joke map mixed in with the gameplay of the standard King of the Hill map. It was made for an April Fool's contest that TF2 maps will hold occasionally. This contest has spawned many other interesting maps in the past. The inspiration for this map came from another map called Windmill Trainsaw, which is exactly what it sounds like. It was also made with the goal of subverting mapping concepts that you're normally not supposed to break. In Trainsaw Laser's case, it's don't make the players fight the map. It's just there for them to fight each other on. Crash wanted to see if he can make dying to the map's many hazards fun. The version I'm looking at is RC2, which stands for Release Candidate. It's kinda like an in-between of an absolute final version and a beta. I'm starting from Blue Spawn. Keep in mind, almost everything I show this side is mirrored for the red team, aside from some aesthetic changes. One of the first things you'll see is a laser offering a free Uber. It's unfortunately a lie. On occasion, trains will rain out of the sky. You'll get used to this.
Oh yeah, train rain!
Exiting the spawn will present us with a railway which, quite fittingly, a train carrying a saw and laser will travel across on occasion. It's probably worth noting at this point almost everything on this map is made to kill you. Beyond are 3 different paths you can take from this point. Ahead in the middle path is a room full of pumpkin bombs. It's a fun place to catch people off guard. From the blue side, the left path takes you to an interior around mid. And the right path takes you to an open courtyard area with a laser wall that for some reason is broken for me. It still works, but it should have a laser effect going across it.
Train rain!
There are some more interiors around the point. There's an entrance to a waterway that goes underneath the play area you can use to sneak around. At the top is a balcony with a laser to punish you for getting too close. Across this bridge is a saw that will take you out if you jump. The note here is a reference to a player named Flippy who liked to snipe here.
Fuck you. Fuck you for making this thing. It's not a map to play. Just annoying.
The control point is right next to a moving laser. It guards a pair of ammo and health packs you can get to if you're quick and brave enough. There's also a laser above here that fires every now and then. It'll spark before it goes off. Behind the lasers is another access to the waterway. There's also a grinder here with a very convenient banana. The mentioned waterway takes you underneath the point. There is a saw in the middle with a full medkit for the brave. One way will take you to the red side and the other to the blue side. On the other side of the waterway is a room full of rockets. Periodically these rockets will test fire and burn everything in here. Best not to hang around too long. Throughout the main area of the map are orange ramps that can be used for demonite trimping. It's a pretty fun way to get around. You can land on most of the roofs on this map. However, the larger ones contain pools of acid.
Oh, that sparks. Nope.
Speaking of pools of acid, there's a rather large one you can take a swim in if you want. There's a med pack in the middle if you're desperate. Just watch out for the train sharks. You've probably noticed the death counters by now. I played around with bots for a bit, and it appears only getting killed by the hazards raises the count. Getting killed or getting a kill from another player leaves it the same. Maybe it's just because I was playing with bots rather than real players though. I did try both normal bots and the Team Fortress bots.
Fresh sauce for the train.
Oh wow, I haven't even started talking about Train God yet. He's what's been causing all the trains to rain over and over again. From what I gathered from the descriptions of this map, Train God is an entity being worshipped by a suicidal cult of hippies who got driven out from this hazardous waste plant. Now Red Team and Blue Team are fighting over who has control over it. Yep, that's the lore of Trainsaw Laser. In the map CP Moss Rock, there's a poster in the radio room with broadcasting frequencies. Most of these are references to other maps. Of note here is a frequency to contact Train God with. Does this mean Train God is canon within Team Fortress 2? I like to think so. Once enough players have died, things get a little more interesting.
What is up, everybody? Oh, it's time.
There's a chance of having an encounter with one of 3 of Train God's minions, complete with voice acting. They are, in no particular order, Pastor Kilgore, giant spinning massive saw blades, Lucy in the sky with lasers, a giant spinning mass of lasers, and Choo Choo the train shark. Pretty straightforward what he is. All these bosses will travel around the map and kill you if you get in their way, or just kill you anyway. Spell books will also appear around the map at this time as well. I can't think of many joke maps with voice acting. The voices for these characters were done by Crash and his friends. In addition, there's a chance of a giant train coming out of the sky.
Tiny train.
I quite like the mini train rain that can happen as well. There's also a pro version of Trainsaw Laser that removes map events, spells, randomness, and makes some changes to how the point is captured. Before I move on, I just want to point out some of the details in this map. I especially like the train Stonehenge in the background. Crash told me the reason he left the dev textures in was because it didn't feel right after he started detailing the map, and he liked the orange map aesthetic it had. A detail you won't see during normal gameplay is that the bosses are hidden away in rooms where players can't normally see them when not in use. These kind of rooms aren't uncommon, but they're normally not detailed. Reminds me of the ghost room in Harvest Event. I think this tube that the spectator camera will follow every now and then is a nice touch as well.
done!
Now let's look at Wub Wub Wub. You might want to look away if flashing lights are bad for you. I really do mean it. It was also an entry into the April Fool's Day mapping contest, this time in 2014. I'll be looking at the Remix VIP version. Just like Trainsaw Laser, this map mixes a joke map with the legit gameplay of a King of the Hill map. Also like Trainsaw Laser, Wub 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 was made to subvert your typical mapping concepts. In this case, keep the visual noise to a minimum. Crash was working on Glassworks at the time, and he was trying to follow this idea for that map, but he made Wub 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 as a break from more serious mapping. When you first leave the spawn and explore this map, you'll notice you're in a rather large, plain, boxy looking room. The fun really starts once you capture the point, and the true map begins to reveal itself. The main feature of Wub 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 is a giant speaker that appears near the control point and plays really loud music. Wub Wub Wub's music logic-wise has to be stacked up with several sound outputs playing at the same time to be loud enough. And I mean loud. There are so many tracks I can't make a list for them all, so I'll leave a link to the TF2 wiki which contains a list of songs. After the first song plays, the entire stage turns on its side and flies off into space. This is done by rotating the entire skybox and pushing it away. Keep in mind all this was done before funk rotating was fixed. Once in space, you can move around almost the entire map. The interior areas have transparent ceilings. If you land on top of the main building behind the point, you'll be pushed towards the play area. All these effects are tied to the song that is currently playing. Crash had to listen to the songs and time out what happens by listening to the track, getting the timing, then entering the time in a list of sequences using a logic relay entity. Some of these effects are quite clever technically. The flashing lines and shapes are funk brush entities that strobe and get turned on and off. It just happens the strobe effect often lines up really well with the music. All these engineers, sentries and cows flying around are actually rockets that have their models changed. They even do a little bit of damage if they hit you. Underneath the map is this credits area. I don't think you can get down here during normal gameplay. Unfortunately, I don't have as much to say with Wub 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 as I do with Trainsaw Laser. Honestly, in a way, just even talking about Wub 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 kinda spoils the surprise and the experience. So, hey, if you haven't played it already, I kind of ruined it for you. Sorry. I'd still definitely recommend playing on this map if you find a server running it. So that's Trainsaw Laser and Wub Wub Wub. Two very interesting and unique maps for Team Fortress 2. I'd like to thank UEAK Crash for answering the questions I had. As I mentioned at the start, Crash has covered his own maps in more detail than I ever could. So if you want to learn more about TF2 maps or his maps, then check out his YouTube channel. He has moved on from TF2, but he has still provided a lot of useful resources if you want to have a go at mapping yourself. One of the questions I asked Crash if there was anyone he would like to credit. I couldn't find a place to put it in the video, so I'm placing it here. There was Hey You, who was mentioned before. There was also PMA Verz, I hope I said that right, who ran the server he played on. And Freya and Pear, who helped Crash with his last few big projects.